Right, so here is something that I think about more than most people because of the work I do in the Irish food industry. Every single day, millions of people across this country grab a bottle of water off a shelf, hand over their money, and assume they are making a healthy choice. And I get it. The bottles look clean. The labels say things like natural and pure and sourced from ancient springs. Some of them even have pictures of mountains on them. But here is what the label does not tell you. A study published in January 2024 by researchers at Columbia University found up to 370,000 plastic particles in a single liter of bottled water. Not microplastics, though those are in there too. Nanoplastics. Particles so small they pass straight through your gut wall and travel in your bloodstream to your heart, your brain, and your organs. The same study found that nanoplastics are now being detected in human placentas, in the bodies of unborn children. And that is not a fringe finding. A study from 2018 at the State University of New York tested 259 bottles across 11 of the world's most popular brands and found 93% were contaminated with plastic particles. The average was 325 particles per litre. One bottle had over 10,000, and that study used older technology. The 2024 Columbia research used a far more advanced method, and the numbers jumped to roughly 100 times higher than anyone had previously measured. Every single brand on this list comes in a plastic bottle. None of them can escape that problem. But some of them have additional issues that go well beyond plastic, and those are the ones I really want to walk you through today. So let's get into it. These are 12 bottled water brands you need to think seriously about before buying in 2026. Number 1. Ballygowan. This one is going to surprise a lot of people because Ballygowan is as Irish as it gets. It has the green label, the Limestone Spring in County Limerick. The brand has been in Irish fridges for decades, and for most people, it feels like a safe, homegrown choice. Here is the reality. As of January 2025, Ballygowan is owned by Carlsberg Group, the Danish brewing multinational. Carlsberg paid £3.3 billion to acquire Britvic, the company that owns Ballygowan, and the deal closed at the start of 2025. So when you buy a bottle of Ballygowan, the profits are heading to Copenhagen. Ireland's most iconic water brand, built on a genuine limestone spring in Newcastle West, now sits inside one of the world's largest beer corporations. The water itself is real. It carries European Union natural mineral water status, which means it comes from a protected underground source and cannot be treated or processed. The filtration is impressive, with rainwater filtering through limestone rock over roughly 750 years before it reaches the bottle. But the brand has had its problems. Back in 2012, batches of Ballygowan in 750 milliliter and 1 litre bottles were pulled from shelves across Ireland and Northern Ireland because of an off-odour issue, attributed to natural minerals reacting with oxygen in the bottle. Britvic downplayed it. Consumers were not so relaxed about it. The bigger issue is ownership. Ireland has great water, and yet the most recognisable Irish water brand on the market funnels its revenue out of the country through a foreign corporate chain. That is worth knowing. Number 2. Deep River Rock. This one, I have to be honest with you, gets under my skin a bit. Deep River Rock is owned by Coca-Cola HBC and bottled in Lisburn, County Antrim. It is all over Irish supermarkets. And here is the thing that most people do not know about it. Deep River Rock is not classified as natural mineral water. It is not classified as natural spring water either. The label just says still water. Under EU and Irish food regulations, water that does not carry either of those protected classifications is essentially processed water from a borehole or well. The ingredient listed on Deep River Rock bottles is Deep River Rock still water. That is it. No mineral analysis, no source verification, just a circular reference to itself. And before you say, well, Coca-Cola is a reputable company, I want to remind you about Dasani. In 2004, Coca-Cola launched Dasani bottled water in the UK, and it turned out to be filtered tap water from Sidcup in southeast London. Within weeks of launch, independent testing found bromate levels of 10 to 22 parts per billion in the bottles. Bromate is a carcinogen. The legal limit was 10 parts per billion. Coca-Cola recalled every single bottle. The brand never relaunched in the UK or Ireland. Dasani still does not exist here to this day. Now, Deep River rock appears to come from a genuine underground borehole rather than mains water, but the deliberate vagueness of the labelling, the refusal to provide a standard mineral analysis, and the shadow of the Dasani story all sitting over the same company makes this one hard to recommend. Number 3. Evian. Evian is the premium choice, the one people buy when they want to treat themselves or look a bit sophisticated at a meeting. It comes from the Cachet Spring in the French Alps, and it does carry genuine natural mineral water status, so at least what it says on the tin is accurate in that sense. But there are two serious issues with Evian right now. The first is plastic. In July 2024, the Plastic Pollution Coalition filed a lawsuit in the United States after independent lab testing found both microplastics and bisphenol A, BPA, in Evian products. BPA is a chemical linked to hormone disruption, cardiovascular disease, and developmental problems in children. The lawsuit directly challenges Evian's marketing claims of being natural, healthy, and sustainable. Evian's owner Danone won a procedural dismissal of an earlier related case, but the wider litigation is ongoing. The second issue is the carbon-neutral claim. Evian spent years marketing itself as a carbon-neutral product. A federal lawsuit over that claim survived a motion to dismiss in January 2024, with a judge ruling the label was ambiguous and potentially confusing for consumers. Think about this for a second. Every bottle of Evian sold in Dublin has been trucked across France and shipped across the Irish Sea. We are talking 1,200 to 1,500 kilometers just to get to your local shop. Calling that carbon neutral while knowing what we know about plastic production and freight emissions is a stretch that courts are now beginning to pull apart. You are paying roughly €1.50 for a 500 milliliter bottle. A litre of water from a Dublin tap costs €0.0037 per litre, and the tap water meets stricter safety standards. Number 4. Volvic. If you want one story from this entire video that you share with someone else this week, make it the Volvic story, because this one is extraordinary. Volvic is owned by Danone, the same company as Evian. It is sourced from a volcanic region in Auvergne, France, and it has been in Irish shops for years. The branding is all about natural purity, volcanic filtration, and the idea of an untouched environment. Here is what is actually happening at that source. Back in 1950, the extraction from Volvic Spring was 200,000 litres per year. By 2020, Danone had pushed that to 1.7 billion litres annually, and the French government had authorised up to 2.8 billion litres. The natural flow rate of that spring, which was measured at 470 litres per second in 1927, has now collapsed to just 50 litres per second. The flow has collapsed. Local streams that powered flour mills for centuries are now dry. A 17th century fish farm, classified as a historic monument, had to close permanently. Its owner is suing Danone and the French state for €32 million in damages. Here is the detail that really gets people. In 2023, local residents in the Volvic area were banned from using hosepipes due to water shortages. 60,000 people were told not to water their gardens, but Danone's bottling plant was exempt from the restrictions and it kept running. Hydrobiologists working with the French National Research Centre described what is happening there as the beginning of desertification. Investigative journalists found that Danone had been secretly increasing summer withdrawals for years, while being aware of the negative impacts and not disclosing them publicly. The geologist who has studied the source most closely noted that when Danone stops pumping for maintenance, the spring flow begins recovering after about 40 days. That means the damage is being caused directly by the extraction. It is just not recovering fast enough between pumping cycles. Every bottle of Volvic in an Irish supermarket travelled roughly 1,400 kilometres from a region that is running dry to fund multinational profits. Number 5. Fiji water. Right, so this one is a bit of a head-scratcher. Fiji water is in Irish shops in 2026. Fiji water is owned by American billionaires Stuart and Linda Resnick through a company called The Wonderful Company, which also owns Puam Wonderful Pistachios and several other food brands. The water itself comes from the Yakara Valley in Fiji. That means each bottle travels approximately 16,000 to 18,000 kilometers to reach an Irish supermarket shelf. This is a long supply chain. The company's own carbon disclosure reported over 85,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in a single year. They ran a campaign calling Fiji Water Carbon Negative. A class action lawsuit said that claim was false advertising, arguing the company was using a discredited accounting method called forward crediting to offset emissions that had not been reduced. The Fiji Green website used to promote the campaign was taken down around 2010. The carbon claim proved controversial, but the carbon story is not even the most uncomfortable part. When Fiji Water was actively marketing itself as the purest water on Earth, around 47% of Fijians had no access to clean drinking water. The people who live next to the source of this premium product were drinking unsafe water while it was being shipped to supermarkets in Dublin and London. Access to clean water was a critical local issue. Then, in March 2024, the US Food and Drug Administration recalled over 78,000 cases of Fiji water because manganese was detected above safe levels, and 3 types of bacteria were found. That recall underlined safety concerns. Recalled products factored into the brand story. This is the brand that markets itself with images of tropical rainforests and volcanic filtration. Premium pricing. Premium problems. Number 6. Smart water. Here is a fun one. Smart water. You have seen it in fridges, the tall, clear bottles with the word Smart Water on the label, implying something scientific and beneficial. It is owned by Coca-Cola, which paid $4.9 billion for the brand in 2007. What is smart water? It is water that has been distilled. The process boils the water until it vaporizes, then condenses the vapor back into liquid, stripping out essentially everything that was in it. After that, small amounts of calcium chloride, magnesium chloride, and potassium bicarbonate are added back in. In the United States, the starting material is municipal tap water. The United Kingdom and Irish versions use British spring water as the base, but distillation removes everything before anything is put back. You are essentially drinking processed water with a pinch of minerals added. In 2018, the German consumer group Foodwatch awarded Smart Water its Golden Windbag Prize, their annual award for the most brazen lie in food advertising. The Dutch equivalent did the same. German judges called it ordinary water sold through a scientifically sounding but completely unnecessary production process at up to 7 times the price of regular water. Here is the kicker. The electrolyte content Smart Water adds back after distillation is smaller than what you naturally find in most mineral waters that come straight from the ground without any processing. You are paying a premium to get less than what nature provides for free. Number 7. Buxton. Buxton comes from Derbyshire in England, where rainfall filters through ancient limestone over approximately 5,000 years before reaching the surface. That is genuinely impressive filtration. The water quality itself is not the core issue here. The issue is who owns it. Buxton is a Nestlé brand, and Nestlé's record on water is about as bad as it gets in global corporate history. In 2024, French prosecutors opened a criminal investigation into Nestlé Waters France over allegedly illegal purification treatments being applied to brands marketed as natural mineral water. 2 million bottles of Perrier, another Nestlé brand widely sold in Ireland, were ordered destroyed by a French government agency after fecal bacteria were detected. Investigators also uncovered evidence of 9 illegal plastic landfills at Nestlé's Vittel water site in France. In California, Nestlé was extracting water from San Bernardino National Forest on a permit that had expired in 1988. For years, they paid just $524 annually for that extraction, even during drought conditions. The permit controversy continued for years before they eventually sold that operation. Former Nestlé CEO Peter Brabeck-Letmathe said in a 2005 documentary that treating access to water as a human right was an extreme solution, and that water should instead have a market value. He later said his comments were taken out of context. The clip went around the world, and the outrage was real. In Buxton itself, the Lion's Mouth Spring at St. Anne's Well, the historic public source that gave the town its reputation for centuries, has been repeatedly closed off to the public while Nestlé's nearby operations continue at scale. Number 8. Highland Spring. You see Highland Spring in every Centra and Spar in the country. The branding is rolling Scottish hills and clean air, an image of pristine Highland wilderness. Here is the first thing to know. No water in Highland Spring comes from the Scottish Highlands. The source is the Oakshall Hills in Perthshire, which is central Scotland. That is not the Highlands. The name is marketing. The second thing to know is the ownership structure. Highland Spring belongs to Mahdi Al-Tajir, an Emirati-born billionaire with an estimated fortune of around £1.6 billion. The corporate structure runs through Park Tower Holdings Establishment, which is registered in Liechtenstein, to Oakshall Holdings Limited in Gibraltar, down to the operating company in Scotland. That puts 2 tax haven jurisdictions between the owner and the product on your shelf. None of that speaks to the quality of the water, but it does say something about how the revenues from that water are being managed. In terms of contamination, Highland Spring was among the brands included in a 2018 study by the State University of New York at Fredonia on microplastics, which found plastic particles in 93% of all tested bottles. That figure, as we covered at the start, is now understood to be an undercount of the actual problem. Number 9. This one is the big one for Irish consumers specifically. Celtic Pure. Celtic Pure was a Monaghan-based water company that presented itself as a family-run Irish business. For a lot of Irish consumers, it was invisible because it did not sell under its own name on most shelves. It supplied own-brand water for Aldi under the Comarag label, Lidl under the Carrickglen label, Dunnes Stores, Spar, Londis, Applegreen, and the plain brand sold at Dublin Airport. In July 2019, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland found arsenic in Celtic Pure's water at levels up to 54.7 micrograms per litre. The European Union legal limit is 10 micrograms per litre. That is 5.5 times above the legal safety threshold for a carcinogen. The Health Service executive issued a closure order in August 2019. But it got worse. In October 2019, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland raided the facility. The raid was accompanied by Gardaí after a tip-off from a former employee who had gone to the authorities. What they found was contamination on a second front. Almost 50 batches of bottled water were recalled after testing revealed the presence of Pseudomonas aeruginosa, E. coli, and Enterococci bacteria across the product range. 3 separate types of biological contamination were found in products sitting on supermarket shelves across the country. The company went into examinership, failed to secure new investment, and was liquidated by the High Court. Here is another detail that adds a layer to the story. Despite being presented as a family-run Monaghan operation, the company's shares were held through an offshore entity registered in Jersey, a tax haven, for a small Irish water company. The Celtic Pure case is not just a food safety story. It is proof of what can happen when a single supplier with systemic failures feeds the own brand supply chains of every major Irish retailer at the same time, and most consumers never knew. Number 10. Supermarket own brand water, and the sourcing question nobody asks. After the Celtic Pure story, you might be wondering about the own brand water you buy today. The Tesco own brand, the current Aldi own brand, the Lidl version. These products are not necessarily dangerous, but most Irish consumers have no idea where they actually come from. A survey carried out by the Food Safety Authority of Ireland found that 55% of bottled water labels in Ireland did not comply with the legal requirement to name the spring and the place of exploitation, more than half. This means you pick up a bottle, The label says something appealing about Irish springs, and you have no way of independently verifying whether that claim is accurate or who is actually filling it. The Celtic Pure scandal showed that a single compromised producer was simultaneously filling bottles for 6 or 7 different retail brands. Your Aldi budget water and your Lidl budget water and your Spar budget water could all come from the same facility with no signal on the label that tells you that. If you are buying own brand water in Ireland and you want to know where it actually comes from, the answer is often either Uisce in County Limerick or Glenpatrick Spring in County Tipperary. Both are genuine Irish-owned operations with solid safety records. Glenpatrick fills products for Tesco, Dunnes and Marks and Spencer. Uisce fills for Aldi, Lidl, Dunnes and Spar. But the label rarely makes this clear. Number 11. Perrier. Perrier is the fancy, sparkling water in the green glass bottle, a classic dinner party choice. It is owned by Nestlé, which we already covered on the Buxton entry. Perrier has its own very specific problems worth knowing about. In April 2024, French food safety authorities ordered 2 million bottles of Perrier destroyed after the detection of fecal bacteria in the water. This was not a trace contamination finding. It was contamination serious enough that an entire production run was taken off the market and destroyed. The Perrier source in Vergèze in southern France, which the brand has drawn from since 1863, has faced repeated questions about the integrity of its filtration over the years. Consumer Reports testing in the US found PFAS, perfluoroalkyl, and polyfluoroalkyl substances at levels above 1 part per trillion in Perrier samples. PFAS are known as forever chemicals because they do not break down in the environment or the human body. They have been linked to cancer, hormone disruption, thyroid disease, and immune system damage, and they were found in a brand that sells sparkling mineral water for €3 a bottle in a Dublin restaurant. Number 12. And this last one is not a single brand. It is the whole premium illusion. The idea that a bottle with a mountain on it, or a story about ancient glaciers, or a celebrity ambassador is giving you something meaningfully better than what comes out of your tap. That illusion is the product being sold here, not the water. Irish tap water, according to the EPA 2025 Drinking Water Report, meets safety standards at public water supply sampling points over 99.8% of the time. The water coming out of your kitchen tap in Dublin or Cork or Galway is subject to more frequent testing, stricter disclosure requirements, and tighter contamination monitoring than the vast majority of bottled water products on the market. And it costs roughly €0.00185 per litre. A 500 milliliter bottle of Evian in a Dublin shop costs around €1.50. That is a markup of roughly 400 times the price of tap water that meets the same or stricter safety standards. A litre of Fiji water can cost you €2 or more. That is water that has just crossed 17,000 kilometers of ocean in a plastic bottle, while the people who live next to the source in Fiji were struggling to access clean water themselves. And none of these bottles, not one of them, can escape the microplastics problem. Because the problem is the plastic. The problem is the container, not the source. If you are buying water for health reasons, the evidence as of 2026 points clearly toward a quality filtered tap water solution over any bottled alternative. Ireland fought for the right to free water not too long ago. We won that fight. And then millions of us started voluntarily handing money to Danish brewers and Swiss multinationals and American billionaires for water in plastic bottles that contains nanoplastics, that ships across entire oceans, and that sometimes, as Celtic Pure proved, contains arsenic. That is the bottled water industry in Ireland. Now you know what you are actually buying. If you found this useful, hit subscribe. And I will keep breaking down what is really going on in the Irish food industry every week. If there is a brand or a product category you want me to look at next, drop it in the comments below.